Okay, kids, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go over activity number 43, KNEX Alpine Slide Design Rider Measurements. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out some of the things that you should be aware of as you are measuring the rider for your ride. Okay? Now, before you can design your ride, before you can design your Alpine rider car, you need to determine the size it must be in order to accommodate the rider. Okay? So, this presentation will identify the different measurements you will be taking for the rider. You're going to want to take notes as you watch this presentation so you don't have to keep opening it up again so you understand which measurements to be taking. Measure accurately and to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, okay? Make sure you're accurate and you measure to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. That means you need to be very precise. You will need to build some calipers in order to measure accurately. And if you were in my class earlier this fall, you built some calipers and you practiced measuring to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. Okay? So let's take a look at some of the measurements you will be measuring. Okay? Here's our rider. Okay? He's a robotic rider for our Alpine slide. And the first measurement you're going to be taking is the arm span. The arm span will go from the tips of his fingers on this side to the tips of his fingers on that side. Okay, so this whole distance is the arm span. Make sure that the arms are straight when you get this measurement. Okay? And so remember, you're going to be measuring to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. The next measurement that you're going to be taking is your rider's height. Okay? So the height is from the top of the head all the way down to the soles of his feet. Okay? Make sure you are accurate when you get this measurement from top to bottom. Okay? Our next set of measurements are going to be the arm length, which is from fingertips right here to this point on the shoulder. Okay? So be very, very careful when you measure that and make sure you are measuring it very precisely. The next measurement then is the leg length, okay? Notice that the leg length is from the soles of the feet to what is about the top of the hip. Okay, so make sure when you measure this that you are measuring to the very exact points in which they want you to measure to, okay? So make sure you measure accurately. Three more measurements that you will be taking, which you may not be familiar with, are the following. The first one will be the chest girth. The chest girth will be from this point to this point. Notice the location on the torso, okay? So the chest girth is going to be from side to side, right across where the arms are put into the sockets, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to get the hip girth. Notice that the hip girth is from the edge of the leg to the edge of the leg, right through the pelvis area. Okay? So you want to make sure you're accurate with the hip girth. And then, of course, if you have a chest and a hip girth, you are going to also want to get the waist girth from here to here. Okay? So carefully record those measurements. Your chest girth, okay, which is about the center of where the arm sockets are. the hip girth, which is right through the pelvis, okay, the waist girth, which is at the very bottom of the torso, okay, so be very accurate when you get those measurements. Now, here's our final set of measurements that you will get. And of course, your rider will be in the seated position, so you will need to have an understanding of what the height will need to be to protect the rider's back and spine in case you decide to design a seat that is going to have head support. So if you have a seat that is going to have head support, you're going to want to know what the height of the rider's head is, okay? So that'll be important for you, okay? So we're going to go over some of the measurements you'll need if your rider is in a seated position, okay? Now, first of all, when you take your measurements, you want to make sure that your rider is situated properly, okay? Which means that you want them to go sitting straight up and down at a 90-degree angle that is perpendicular to the actual seating surface. All right, so you want them to be straight up and down, legs at a 90-degree angle with the general center line of the body. Okay, you want the knees to be bent at a 90-degree angle, and then the foot, okay, at a 90-degree angle with the shin. Okay, so you want to make sure the knee forms a 90-degree angle and the foot and the ankle are at 90 degrees. Then you also want to have the arms in the proper position. And so you will want, again, establish a straight line that is perpendicular to the seat, and you want the upper arm at a 135-degree bend, and then the lower arm at a 135-degree bend as well. Okay? So anyways, once you have set up your rider so it has this shape very accurately, you're then going to take the following measurements. The first measurement you will take will be the sitting height. Okay, so the sitting height is from here to the top of the head. Okay, that is the sitting height. And that's important because if you want to build something to support the spine as well as a headrest or something that will support the neck and the head, you want to know the total sitting height. Okay? So, the next measurement that we're going to take will be the popliteal height. Okay? The popliteal height. And this height is, I hope I'm saying that right, this height is from the buttocks, butt, down to the soles of the feet. There's no other way of saying it. From the bottom of your rider's rump to the bottom of their feet, okay, is the height that you will want to measure. Now be very, very careful when you take that measurement and be as accurate as possible, okay, because you want your rider's feet to be flat on the floor of your car. Okay? Then our final measurement is going to be the seat depth. And the seat depth is from the back of the rump or the derriere to right inside the calves of the leg. Okay? So this distance from there to there will be your seat depth. And that's important for you to understand and to know so that your rider is comfortable. Okay, now remember when you design your seat, however, that you want to look at the structure of the rider and realize that your rider's back is a little bit farther than where their actual hips and their backside sit on the chair. So when you design your seat, you want to account for this space right there. Okay? Alright, so anyways, now that you have a general idea of what you're looking for, okay, we're going to just quickly review what we're doing here. Okay, it is the rider measurements. You want to make sure that your Alpine car can accommodate the rider. You want to identify the measurements of your rider. measure to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, and use calipers to help you do this. You're going to measure the arm span. You're going to measure the height. You're going to measure the arm length, the leg length. You're going to measure the chest girth, the hip girth, the waist girth. And then your final measurements will be sitting height, the popliteal height, and the seat depth. Alright, so good luck getting those measurements. Be as accurate as possible, kids.